welcome to today's Future Focus series. My name is Michelle Cook, and I am one of the career specialists with the ISD. And we are very pleased today to have Chandra Deese Davis, Clinical Manager, Surgical Services with Mercy Health. And we also have my co-host, Sasmon Parker. She is going to be monitoring our chat today and making sure that everybody has their videos off and they're muted. If you do have questions that come up as you hear throughout the chat, please post them either to Mrs. Parker or myself, and we will continue to monitor those to make sure that we can get your questions answered as they come up. Like I said, this session will be recorded, so if it can be viewed at a later time if you're not able to watch all of it, or if you know somebody that would like to watch it later. So I'm going to start first with a little video from Mercy Health. And actually, Chandra is in this video. She's right on the opening screen, so she's like a movie star in our presence. So I do ask that you turn up your volume. We're having a little bit of issue with being able to hear it. So if you can turn up your volume to be able to hear that, that would be great.
Be positive.
Be a breath of fresh air.
Be a source of hope.
Be exact.
Be accessible.
Be an expert in your field.
Be compassionate.
Be a protector.
Be reassuring.
Be a healer.
Be accountable.
Be innovative.
Be a source of energy.
Be a life changer.
Be excellent.
Be 100% dependable.
Be mindful.
Be a hand to hold.
Be gentle.
Be a source of faith.
Be confident.
Be inspiring.
Be there at a moment's notice.
Be understanding.
Be reliable.
Be a great leader.
Be a hero.
Be present.
Sea excelente.
Be.
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 Be
Remarkable.
Remarkable.
Be remarkable.
I think that is such a great video as it shows some of the co-workers that you work with and how they work together, and just all the support and what you guys do. And again, I want to express to you, you're one of our healthcare heroes right now. So thank you for supporting our community through this, and welcome to our Future Focus series today.
Thank you.
So good to have you. So let's have you think back to when you were 15, 16, 17 years old and in high school. And did you think you would be a clinical manager in the surgical services department at Mercy Health when you grew up? And how did you kind of end up where you are today?
Wow, that is like a totally loaded question. So in high school, all throughout high school, I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. So all of my focus was on finding a school with a good vet school. And I grew up in Mississippi. So, Mississippi State had a really good vet school. So I was really targeting everything to go there. And finally, I graduated high school, went to college. That was my major, pre-vet, the first class. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think this is it. So I sort of refocused a little bit, and I knew you have that heart to care for others and, animals, that little part of your heart. But then I sort of focused my attention to like medicine, pre-med. So then I changed my major to pre-med, and my focus was going to medical school. So all of my classes were focused toward going to medical school, applied to medical school. I actually got in medical school. So try that. That was not it for me. And I actually graduated from college with a bachelor's in biology. So I ended up working in research for a little bit, but that little clinical side of me was always there. And ironically, after I got married, my son was born prematurely. And so as a result of that, I kept getting people, they were telling me, you should go to nursing school. You just seem like you know so much with all of the stuff I was doing with my son. So I ended up going to nursing school after, I had my son, and I went to Grand Valley, got my BSN in nursing, a second degree program. And I, went to nursing school. Then I worked at Helen DeVos for a while in the NICU because my son was there and knew lots of people. And then I started working in surgery after the NICU just because of schedules, because nursing is there's so many options and things you can do with it. And so I transferred to the surgery department, and oh my gosh, like surgery is like what I love. It's like, there's so many different things you can do with it. And I mean, it's the technology. And so I started surgery as a circulating nurse and then sort of progressed into the leadership aspect of it. And the opportunity opened here for a clinical manager for the OR and the PACU. And so I've landed here at Mercy, and it's just been this great ride ever since. I just recently completed my master's in health administration. So it's just, there's just so many opportunities. I'm one of those people like that enjoys a continuous learning aspect. So so that's the sort of the condensed version of how we got here. So my advice is, don't be afraid to fail and try new things, because that's how I got here, by failing at some things. So,
and that is really good advice, because it's all part of the journey, right? And that's what we hope to impart with students, is to get those experiences and explore early experiences like this, speaking with you, to hear what's a good fit and what works out. For me as well, I wanted to be a veterinarian up until my junior year in high school. Yes, was going to go to Michigan State, and ended up having an experience and realized that was not for me.
Exactly.
Then subsequently had an experience with a classroom teacher and realized that was for me.
Right.
And so, it's those experiences that can really help us hone in on what it is. And then once, like you even mentioned, once you become a nurse, the options are so open to really find where you want to land, and having those experiences like you did with the NICU, and now in with surgery, finding where a good fit is for you. So it sounds like, like you said, the experience with your son, being in the NICU, helping you get into surgery and landing there. Congratulations on getting your master's. I think that's good advice too. Never stop learning, because you're going to do that throughout. Tell us about kind of your early days after college. Was it, because you talked about that you had biology, was it difficult to kind of land in the hospital and say, this is where I'm going to be, as opposed to maybe a doctor's office? What kind of landed that for you?
So I feel like that process is landing how I got here, because you don't know what you don't know. And exposure helps you learn about things. And I didn't even know what is a circular. I didn't even know. I just knew from like television what you see, and how do you get there, and I had no idea. And I think it was in nursing school, when we did our clinicals, that I did the surgical rotation, and I was in the OR, and I was asking around, like, how do you get in here? Like, how do you you get all this advice like you should start on a med surg floor, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't like that. That's not, that I don't want to do that. And so to me, you kind of have to, like have conversations with people who are in nursing, and if you can like shadow, if you have that opportunity, somebody that is a nurse, and sort of get that inside perspective of exactly what it is. And I think when I took the surgery job, to be honest with you, I really didn't know what it was. I mean, I had no idea all the details and stuff from surgery. I just remembered that little snippet from nursing school, and but just that exposure, and um, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to get it. I just think the more you're inquisitive, the more you have conversations with people and ask questions, is how you discover it.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. And of course, um, getting those experiences when we can. And right now during the pandemic, this is how we can get an experience with someone like yourself. But we do look for opportunities for students to engage with students, especially in healthcare. It's hard for them to get those face-to-face experience because of HIPAA and things that we have to be very conscious of with patients' care. But I know Sasman Parker and myself, she works with the students at our Career Tech Center. We work very hard to try to make sure students can have these conversations or other opportunities, because we know healthcare is the biggest growth right now, and also Mercy Health is our largest employer in Muskegon County. And healthcare has a huge regional base in West Michigan, so that's important. So going back to your degree and your credentials, tell me a little bit about going through nursing school. You have your RN, BSN. Tell us a little bit, what is that, your RN, BSN, and then now you have your master's. What does those levels mean?
So there are really, I guess, two tracks you can take for being a nurse. So there's the associate's degree track you can do, or the bachelor's degree track you can do. So MCC has a great associate's degree program. It's a 2-year program, and it's really focused on more of the clinical aspects. You get a lot of hands-on patient care experience, and you can work here at Mercy with an associate's degree, and you would be a licensed RN. You take your NCLEX and you're an RN. But if you are looking to a bachelor's degree, gives you the more theory, more in-depth of why you're doing what you do. Why do you start an IV? What are the what could happen? It gives you that big picture and a little bit more information about exactly what you're doing. And it also aligns you a little bit for your future. If you're looking to, like for me, to take maybe a leadership position, you would, kind of want to pursue your bachelor's, because, if you want to get your master's, you would have to, have your bachelor's already. So it just really depends. But if you're kind of unsure, an associate's degree is a really good way to start, because I mean, as far as salary, here at Mercy, I feel like we are very competitive with wages, and it's a good base to start.
Yeah, I think, like you said, you can start there and have that 2-year, and then you can kind of work from there. And what's really great about Mercy Health and a lot of our healthcare employers, they will help tuition reimburse for you to move on. So once you're employed there and you're a working nurse with a 2-year, they will help you pay to get the rest of that training, which is awesome. That saves you a lot of money, right?
It is great.
So we had a question come in through the chat. How many years did it take you to get your BSN from Grand Valley?
So Grand Valley had a second degree program, and it's for people who already have a bachelor's degree. So I actually finished my BSN in like a year and a half. So I started in And it was a nonstop program. There were no breaks. You started and you went continuous year round, and then I graduated in December, so roughly a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah. And having already that degree in biology, they have those programs. And they have those programs too, like at MCC, if you get your associate RN, like you were saying, and that's a 2-year, you get your kind of undergrad stuff done, and then you get into the nursing program, and then it's 2 years after that you get your associate RN. They know that you're a working nurse, so they have many of your colleges like MSU, Grand Valley, they have RN to BSN programs, knowing that you're a working nurse. So many of those bridges are online programs.
Exactly. I know here at Mercy, I have a couple of my nurses that are taking advantage of the RN to BSN program. I have actually like 3 people doing it right now. I think Wesleyan University is one. I know a lot of people, I think Ohio State, using those programs, and all of that, it's tuition reimbursement, and a lot of it is online stuff. If you already have your RN, it's mostly just online, materials and things, and it's easily, I mean, I won't say it's like easy, but it's very doable, and depending on your work schedule, it's something you can easily accomplish.
So, you bring that up, work schedule. What is a day in the life of you, Chandra, look like? When do you start? When do you end? And what is your schedule? And what maybe for a typical nurse is a schedule, and what can that look like?
Okay, so for me, because I oversee OR, OR cases, we're early risers. Our first case starts at 7 a.m. every morning. So I generally get here about 6:30 to make sure, to look at staffing and to, make sure that everything's ready to go, because we want our first patient in the room by 7:30. So I'm usually here, and generally I probably around 4:30ish, 5 o'clock, I try to end my day depending on what's happening in the OR or the PACU. So that's kind of Monday through Friday. And then maybe on the weekends, you might get a call or something. But it's more just something you can answer over the phone. Not really, I don't really get like middle of the night calls, or as much as people like think that, occasionally I do, but it's not very frequent that happens. And so for OR, we are 24/7 now that we have all consolidated with Hackley. So we typically have scheduled cases from like 7:30 till 5. And then after 5, it's more like emergent cases, things that, aren't really something you schedule, but, it needs to happen. So we are staffed 24/7. And so whatever comes in, so it depends for the nurse. If you are an 8-hour nurse, you might work Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30. Or if you're not an early riser and you prefer more of a second shift, depending, you could take a second shift position and work Monday through Friday. And then on the weekend, we have what we call on-call teams. So depending on what's happening in the OR, the house supervisor would call you and say, hey, there's a case and we, need you to come in. So if you're on call for 8 hours, you would stay and complete whatever is in the OR. If there's nothing in the OR, you go home. If something comes back, they call you back and, you come back in and do the case. So a lot of people, that's kind of different. We have a response time of 30 minutes that if a patient presents in the ED and they need surgery, we have to get our team here. So when you're on call, you have to basically adjust your life so that you can be here within 30 minutes. So that's a little bit different than like floor, like a med-surg floor or something like that.
And med-surg, when you say med-surg floor, is that the floor like after they've been in surgery, where they kind of are? Okay, yep. Exactly. So that's like you're a floor nurse, and that might be a little bit different. And that's helpful for students to know that if they're going to be in a nursing role and be on call, that's going to be expected of them. So I have a question that just came up. When you first started working, oops, let me go to the chat. I think I missed that. What advice would you give our students who would like to pursue a career in nursing?
I think first, if you are the type of person who enjoys being a continuous learner, I think that's really important, because I think nursing, that's what it is. I mean, just like now with us being in this pandemic, we are learning so many things so quickly, and we're having to make lots of adjustments. So I think kind of look at yourself and your personality and think, do I really enjoy that? Because I think that is one of the, if you're not a person who enjoys change, sometimes I think you might struggle a bit with that, because I do think nursing is a forever, changing kind of career. So it's not like something it's not very predictable all the time, at least for surgery, I would say, because, you know, every day is a brand new experience. And for me, that's why I like surgery so much, because every procedure, every person is just a little bit different, so.
Yeah, every day could be something different depending on what you get. I have a few more questions that came in. When you first started working in the hospital, do you work weekends or does it really depend? So what, like if you're first coming out as a nurse, you're going to work in the hospital. Do you get stuck with all the weekends, because you're the low man on the totem pole, right? Or does it depend on kind of where you're at within the hospital?
I think it depends on where you work. So we talked about med-surg floors versus OR. So med-surg floors typically work weekends. They have a schedule where if you work 12-hour shifts, you work 3 12s. But if it's your weekend to work, you're probably working Friday, Saturday, and then one day during the week, and then you have all those other days off during the week. So it depends. And for surgery, you wouldn't necessarily work them. You might be on call more in a procedural area versus, patient care floor where the patient is there. So they're going to need 24/7 care versus like an OR. Once you do the procedure, that patient progresses through to the PACU, right, and then they, are discharged to the floor or maybe home. So you're not necessarily needed the whole time. So you get to go home. So it depends on, where you work.
Sure. Now the next question, do you suggest a 2 RN work and continue? Do you suggest for a student to get their RN or work to continue onto their BSN? Like start with the 2-year degree and work to the BSN, or should a student go right on to their BSN?
I mean, personally, I would say it's easier to just get your BSN. That's just my personal opinion. And the reason I say that is because we all know how life will come at you. And if you just buckle down, get it done, you're done with that part, versus if you get your 2-year degree and then now you're working and now you've got to juggle school, you've got to juggle work, and if you have family, kids, or whatever, I mean, those are all things you'll have to like figure out how to make it work. But like I said, I think that really is a personal choice. It's not wrong or right. That's just for me, and also I think it depends on the stage in your life. Like if you're young, no kids, no husband, I mean, maybe let's just start there, because like for me, like I don't know if this is what I want to do. So.
Yeah, no, those are really, really good points. I think that's helpful to hear. Next question is, what is the best associate's degree program through MCC to take to start your nursing career?
I don't really know their like the curriculum per se, but we can definitely reach out to, we have nursing students and instructors who come all the time, and I could probably get that answer. And I don't know like what the track that most nursing, like pre-nursing students take. I'm not really sure.
And I think there probably is more ways than one, just like some of our pre-med students, they start out in biology or something like that. I think you may have to declare at MCC at some point, but we can certainly, for that particular question, we can try to get some more information to that student regarding MCC's nursing program. So I will make a note of that, and that might help you in that decision. Last question I have here, how has COVID impacted your career this year?
Wow. I think just having to change our process. What we know, how we do our work was all changed with COVID. So I think that is the most impactful thing that I can think of. For years, we have standard processes and policies that we follow. And I would think most of those have been amended in order to make sure that colleagues are safe, to make sure patients are safe. So I think just change.
Yeah, I'm sure it has been a year of immense flexibility for every one of you and your staff. Just to help the students, one last thing from my lens, because you're the clinical manager overseeing surgical services, and like you said, you are an RN with your BSN. And now I don't know if that would be called an MSN, because it'd be a master's in nursing. But what other positions or careers are within the surgery department that you kind of oversee that play a role in surgery but may not be your role?
Wow. So one of the, I think, really interesting positions is surgical technologist. So a surgical technologist actually assists the surgeon in procedures. They hand them the instruments. They, assist during, you're right there on the sterile field with the surgeon. So that's like for me, I think that's really cool. They're called CSTs, or Certified Surgical Technologists. So we have that role, and we also have what we call, for short, PST or orderly. So they're called procedural support technicians. And what they do, they assist us with pretty much anything that to get the OR ready for a patient, with setup, with turnover, with patient prep, with transport, specimens. And so that is a really, really good way to expose yourself to to get into the OR, to see how the whole process works. And it's something very flexible you could do if you're in school. So I sort of recommend like trying to get in there, some aspect of that in the OR if you're thinking about that. Let's see, there's also, of course, the RN, the circulator. And then, depending upon how far, like advanced degrees, there's a nurse anesthetist. They're called CRNAs. And so they actually put the patients to sleep under the supervision of an anesthesiologist. So that's also something that nurses do. And then also nurses do first assist. So it's called an RNFA. So you're an RN and you're also a first assist, where you actually working side by side with the surgeon. You actually sew, like at the end of the procedure, the surgeon scrubs out. Like if you're in a heart procedure, they close the chest, they take vein. You actually do a lot of hands-on. So that's something further down the line if you thought with a nursing degree that, that we as nurses can do. So there's tons of growth opportunity in the OR. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. And then we also have like administrative, we call them surgery desk coordinators that like when you approach our surgical area, they help you navigate through the department. They board cases for us. Pretty much anything administrative. So there's tons of things that we have.
Yes. And I think what's awesome is to know that, with a nursing degree, the door is really open to you in different departments. But then with even in surgery, how many things you can do with a nursing degree, what you could do as an entry level, like you said, for your procedure support techs, or if you're not really into kind of the nuts and bolts of surgery, but want to support that role, you've got administrative. So there's lots of different things to go into that. One last question I have, how important are attitudes in your line of work?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. So if you think about it, we are one team. If one piece of that team doesn't function, like everybody, I think sometimes, at least this is what I thought, that, okay, the surgeon's the most important person, right? But how about if the surgeon came in and he had no instruments? So if that piece, we have another department that we work closely with, sterile processing. If sterile processing did not process our instruments or the instruments are contaminated, then the surgeon can't work. If the nurse wasn't there charting and assisting and able to provide that assistance to the anesthesiologist, then it would make things very difficult. So it's very important that everybody understands that everybody is important. There's not one person who is more important than the other. It's just that we all have different roles. And I think as long as, everybody respects that, it really makes things work very well. So if you have a person who feels like maybe they're more important, they're the most important part of the team, it really destroys the teamwork. So very important attitude.
Yeah, I can see that was a really good question. Mrs. Parker, do you have any other questions on your end that you're seeing in the chat that we maybe didn't capture?
Nope, I did not see any more. That was it.
All right, thank you. Well, Chandra, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your role, your perspective, a little bit about Mercy Health and healthcare in general. Our students that are really interested in this really saw value in what you were able to share today, and I know it was very important to us. So I appreciate that. So with that, thank you all for joining us today. Mrs. Parker, thank you for your co-host abilities. And we look forward to seeing everybody again at the next Future Focus series. Thank you.
Thank you. One more thing, Mrs. Cook. The first student, the first person who asked the question on your list will win this water cup.
Oh, perfect. I will write down their name. I know who that was, and I will make sure that we reach out to that student and get that prize awarded to them. Thank you so much, Mrs. Parker.
Thank you.
And again, thank you, Chandra. I appreciate it. It was so nice meeting you. And thank you to all who participated today.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.